Karen McFarland. Welcome into Cross My Heart Ministry. Regular viewers know that on Mondays, sometimes we get in the kitchen and share a new recipe or maybe get around the house with an organizing tip or something like that. Well, today I do have a new recipe for you, and the topic is on celebration. That's right, celebration. Now, if you're a mom with kids at home or if you're a grandmom with grandchildren you want to love on, this is specifically for you. But if you're an aunt or you have neighbor kids or you teach a Sunday school class, there might be all sorts of ways that you could also use this idea. But when we think about celebrations, often we think of the biggies. We think about high school graduation or maybe kindergarten graduation, or we certainly think about Christmas or holidays or kids' birthdays. And that's what I want to hone in on today. When our children or grandchildren are very young, it just seems like a long time to wait between birthdays. They just look forward to it. They long for it. They plan what kind of a theme they want for the birthday, what they want for their birthday, and it just seems so long to wait. And then after they have it, it's another long time, another whole year. And so when our kids were young and at home, we started celebrating what I call half birthdays. Now, on your half birthday, you didn't get a party, you didn't get presents, we didn't go anywhere special. Basically, we just acknowledged happy half birthday if we remembered, and I made a celebration cookie. That's what I'm calling it, the celebration cookie. It's basically a giant chocolate chip cookie. And so you can whip this out very easily. It's fun to take to a Sunday school class or to a little gathering. The nice thing about making one giant cookie is you sort of do it once, stick it in the oven, and it's not all that in and out like it is when you make batches of cookies. Also, if you do it all in one cookie, you aren't tempted to sort of pinch off or sample each one that comes out, and you can't really cut into it too early. So it kind of protects the cook from overindulging as well. Well, let's just get right down to it. I've got all my ingredients here ready to go. And we'll have this recipe for you in the notes below. You can download your own copy of the celebration cookie. But this giant cookie, I got to tell you, was used for many Macfarlan half birthdays. So we're going to jump right in. First, I need to preheat my oven to 325. Let me get that going so that it will be ready to go by the time we are ready to go. Make sure I do have a pan in there. Okay, now first thing is we're going to mix together the dry ingredients. So that means some flour, 1.5 cups of that. Get this going here. Always like to have a little straight edge to sort of level off my flour. There's one. And then here's my 1/2 cup measuring cup. This recipe is so easy. And so oftentimes it would be one of the children that would remind me it was actually a half birthday. And sometimes I would be the mom that would forget. But the kids, after they kind of got onto the idea, they were the ones that always seemed to remember. And the funny thing for me is all these years later, sometimes on our group text, one of them will say, "Happy half birthday, Dad," or "Happy half birthday, Lydia," or something like that. So, okay, continuing on, 3/4 of a teaspoon of soda and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Got my little adjustable measuring spoon here, so that's kind of easy to do. There's my 1/2 teaspoon. And so those are my dry ingredients. Let me grab a wooden spoon here. So I'm just going to mix these together a little bit. Again, that's the flour, baking soda, and salt. I sort of popped it out of there a little bit. I got carried away with my stirring. So we're going to set this aside for now. The next thing I'm going to do, I've had my butter softening, and it is indeed very soft. Let me pull my mixer over, maybe move the flour out of the way so you can see a little bit. I'm going to I brought my stand mixer over from the counter so that I could use this. I store all of my extra little additional utensils inside of the bowl so I don't have to go dig in a drawer for them. So let me put those out of the way, attach my little hook here, and we're going to be ready to go. Okay, so I've got my stand mixer ready to go. My butter is indeed very soft. I'm going to hope it doesn't stick to the paper as I get it out of here. So there's my butter. Let me get that out of the way. grab a little towel here. So we're going to stick this in here, sort of cream the butter, and I'm going to cream it together with both the sugar. So this recipe calls for both brown sugar and white sugar. It calls for 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. And let me dig that out of here. If you don't use your brown sugar often, it does get a little hard. So I'm going to have to soften this up a little bit and get that in there. So there's 3/4 a cup of brown sugar. Only calls for 3 tablespoons of white sugar. So we're going to get both of these in there, and then it says to just cream that together until it just has got that creamy sort of texture. And by using the stand mixer, it's just so much quicker. For years, I didn't have one of these babies, and so I just used my old-fashioned mixer, hand mixer, and had to do that by hand. But the stand one saves me a lot of time. It can sort of be doing its thing while I'm going off and looking at the next ingredient on the list. I'm going to turn that up just a tad. The next thing I need to drop in are the 2 dry ingredients. I'm going to dash over to the refrigerator and grab my eggs and my chocolate chips. I keep my chocolate chips in the freezer so they stay nice and frozen, and when I drop them into a recipe, sometimes the mixing, if they're already room temperature, I found they might start to melt a little bit if the dough is warm. So I always keep my chocolate chips in the freezer. I think my mom did that, so it's probably why I do it. So be right back. Let me run and grab my egg, and just needs 1 egg and my chocolate chips. Be right back. Okay, have my egg. Let me move my sugar out of the way, my brown sugar out of the way, so you can see what's going on here. Okay, I'm going to stop this and use my spatula to sort of scrape down the sides a little bit, but I think this is getting to the creamy sort of texture that it needs to have, and just about ready to have those extra liquid ingredients come in. I'm going to give that a fast whirl. Okay, so 1 egg. I'm going to go ahead and break that. Always break an egg into a separate container, ladies. You just never know if you're getting a little bit of eggshell in there. A lot easier to fish it out of a bowl than out of your combined ingredients. I'm going to drop that egg in there. Maybe turn that down just a little bit. And then the last wet ingredient is the 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Isn't this amazing? We almost are finished. We've just about got everything ready to go in here. And you know, don't worry about measuring the vanilla away from it, because if a little more vanilla goes in there, well, that's just that much more flavor. Don't worry about that. Okay, so this is nice and mixed together. I'm going to use my spatula one more time to scrape down the sides and make sure that everything is well mixed together. Rake off my spatula here on the side. I don't want to miss one morsel of goodness. Put this down, lock my thing in place, and here we go. All right, so that's pretty much all there is to it. Now we're going to take our dry ingredients that we've already mixed together. I'm going to slowly mix those in and let the mixer do its work for me. And I am going to have this ready to go, I think, before the oven is even preheated. It's so super easy. Now, if you wanted to add something different, I guess you could do add-ins like raisins or M&Ms or nuts. Oh, the oven's preheated. But my crew just likes chocolate chips. So that's the way we make our celebration cookie. Okay, that is looking all mixed together nicely. Now, we'll tell you that one time I made this recipe and I doubled it, and it made just a humongous giant cookie. You're going to need a pretty big cookie sheet if you decide to do that. Usually I'll just do the standard size. Now, I am using a Pampered Chef baking stone. You could also do this on just a cookie sheet. It makes a 12-inch round cookie. So that's not really a huge cookie. I call it a giant cookie. So by cookie standards, it's huge, but it's not a great big round. So when we've made this, sometimes we'll use a pizza cutter and cut it into pieces, and I might put a scoop of ice cream and some chocolate sauce on it. So you could have all sorts of fun with different ways that you could use this recipe and enjoy it and serve it up for dessert with your family. We are just about ready here to go ahead. I'm going to take my little paddle off and rake off all of this yummy dough because I don't want to wash any of it down the sink. I don't want to lick it and have those extra calories, but I'm going to get all of it into my cookie. Now, what I am going to do with this cookie is I think I am going to wrap it up and mail it off to our youngest baby granddaughter. Her name is Evangeline, and Evangeline's not such a baby anymore. She's turning into a toddler, and she is having a half birthday very soon. She will be 1.5. So baby Ellie, as we call her, just seemed like a baby forever, but suddenly she's walking, and they sent us a video recently of her carrying her clothes from the bathroom to the hamper, and so she's just doing all sorts of things. There's lots of antics that we are hearing about, and so she's moving from being a baby to toddler, and now she's having a half birthday. So we're going to put this cookie off in the mail and mail it to her and surprise her and her parents with that little sweetness that comes in the mail. And so they'll get that and celebrate. I'm going to need to get my scissors before this video is posted, so I'm not ruining the surprise by telling you about it here in case you were wondering. Now, it calls for 1 1/4 cups of chocolate chips. I'm going to measure those out in here. That's about 1 cup. And again, because it's probably closer to 1 1/2, but that's okay. Let me take just a few out. I don't want to have more chocolate chips than dough in here. Because the chocolate chips are cold, they're not going to melt right away in the dough. So I'm just going to mix this all together, then shape it into a ball, and basically roll that ball into the middle and then just keep pressing out until it gets to be about 12 inches wide. Now, if you want to get all precise and grab your ruler, you can do that, but I just typically eyeball a little bit. Now, I like my cookies to be a little chewy and a little soft. If you like yours more hard, then you can bake it a little longer. I also recommend that the first time you bake this, you sort of go easy and bake it less time than is directed. I am setting my timer for 25 minutes, and I'm going to check it, but you might want to set yours for 20 minutes. I have learned through the years staying at an Airbnb or cooking at a family member's house or at different houses where we have lived that every oven is a little different. And if you cook on gas versus electric, I mean, who knows? Mine is a convection oven, so it always adjusts the temperature by 25 degrees, but just bake it a little less. You can look at it, and if the edges seem to be firm, and if you kind of touch the center and it doesn't leave an indentation, it's probably done. You don't want it to be uncooked in the middle, although cookie dough is fun to eat. But you also, like I said, I just don't like to have a hard cookie. I like mine to be pretty soft, so I like to go kind of more on the soft side. I have made this cookie recipe for years when my brother was in the Air Force, so we're really going back a lot of years now. Kevin and I were newlyweds and he was still in the Air Force, so that's probably the late 80s. I would sometimes make him this giant cookie. It's making a lot of noise on the holder. Let me just take that off. I would make this giant cookie and mail it to him in the Air Force at the base. And to keep it soft, I learned this trick along the way. If you will put, anytime you're mailing baked goods, if it's cookies or if it's a giant cookie or small cookies, if you put a slice of bread in there with the cookies, when the cookies get there, the bread will be hard as a rock and the cookie will be soft. I don't know why that works, and I'm not sure where I got that tip, but it absolutely does work. So if I just may put a slice of bread in here when I mail this, so that it will ensure that the cookie stays fresh when it gets there. So there we go. It doesn't really make a humongous cookie, but that's sort of what it looks like. If you make it too thin, it will get kind of hard. So you want it to have a little bit of thickness to it, but there you go. See how quick and easy that was? So we are ready to have a celebration. I'm going to pop this in the oven, and then I'm going to show you what we do to celebrate when it's finished, and I will send a picture of that later, but I'm going to demonstrate how we identify this as a half birthday present while it's baking. So let's get it in the oven. Use my little holder here. Throw that in. Set my timer for 25 minutes. Wipe my hands here. Okay, so before I started the video, I got my little sign ready. So I always make a little banner when I'm doing a celebration cookie, because after all, it is a celebration. Now sometimes I'll just do this on white paper, and I'll get different colored markers. Today, since it's for Evangeline's birthday, I had some pink paper, and I just decided to do that. All I did, take a big Sharpie, I just sort of freehand a little banner. I wrote happy 1.5 birthday, Evangeline, and I added some hearts and confetti. Sometimes I've done balloons, and just get creative and do the best you can. That's what I do. And then I made the little outline nice and wide, so there's a border. And then I just go around and cut this out as so. If you have a boy or a girl or whatever, or if they have a favorite color, you can do that accordingly. And so since we have a little girl, I just did this one in pink. And here we go. So now I've got the little banner, but we need something to hold it into our cookie. So I also have 2 little toothpicks. So I just lay those toothpicks down. They're going to sort of be the little sign holders. And I tape those to the back, and voila, I have my banner ready to go. So when I wrap this up nicely in plastic and put seal it in a Ziploc and put the bread in there, I'm going to lay this in the top to mail it, and then when they open it up, they'll see the little sign that says happy half birthday Evangeline. And my son Luke is going to love this, because he, of all of my kids, he's the one that most often would be the one that would remember it was a half birthday. And all these years later, he is very often the one that reminds everyone on the family group text, happy half birthday whoever, because somehow he just has a brain that keeps up with that. So it's especially delightful to send this to his family for his baby girl, because he's always the one that remembers. Well, I hope that this might be a recipe that you will try. I'll have a picture for you later when it comes out of the oven. And I hope that if you're a mom or a grandmom, or you're an aunt or a Sunday school teacher, or just even a neighbor with kids next door, or somebody, it doesn't, even adults like to have reasons to celebrate. Maybe you're going to make this for your sister or girlfriend if she's got a new job, or even if she's had a bad day, or just you want to celebrate the beginning of the school year, the end of the school year, whatever. Sometimes you don't want to order a big fancy cake or make a big fancy cake, but you want to have a reason to celebrate. And I think a half birthday is a great reason to celebrate. So whether you're celebrating a half birthday or something else, we hope that you are celebrating the people that God has brought into your lives, and you're loving them well. And we hope that maybe this recipe would give you one way that you could do that. For Across My Heart Ministry, I'm Laura Macfarlan. Thank you for spending part of your day with us.